Hello, my friends. Here I am in Windows 11. I can't get rid of all this stuff down here. I can't get rid of the clock. And when I do left-right swooshes, I have to do it with a four-finger swoosh in order to get the nifty screen transition. Otherwise, it's just kind of like this sudden pop. So that's the difference between Windows 10 and Windows 11 for me. Not a really big deal. Now, I just did this like Twitter magnum opus, right? People say I do magnum opuses or, my ultimate writing thing. But, it's not true. I just do that kind of stuff all the time. Here's one that's just wonderful from this morning about the time I shot a guy and all kinds of other interesting stuff. You see, I don't even bother to format it. The web's going to format it. Sometimes if I have to edit a paragraph, I'll do that. But I'm going to pull my Twitter stuff over here. And here's my keyboard shortcut for a new journal entry, right? It sets things up so it's mostly just a rabbit. I like to get the ear in, have the whole banner showing, imply that something else might be up there so I can scroll up and show Alice. But we need to be in a web browser. And in that web browser, you need to pull up Twitter. Oh, what is this? Recommended. See, Microsoft is going to try and reset your browser settings as part of the browser wars because they really want you using Bing. You're going to see the browser wars heat up like you haven't seen it before. I expect that, Microsoft will take on the FTC again, the Federal Trade Commission, because they need to kill Google in the next year or so if they're going to use this shutout momentum, this early mover advantage in AI that they have. Google's coming up with this thing called the Search Generative Experience, SGE, but where is it? It's been weeks since they've announced it. Microsoft announces stuff and it's there yesterday, right? So I'm going to go to Twitter. And in Twitter, I'm going to go to this discussion that I just had. And, I like push out what must be hundreds. Nah, it's probably dozens of posts. Everyone's silent, I know they're there. I know they're there because when you go in here to the view count, it's 439. So there's, half a thousand people who read this. Some of those are going to be me when I start a new session or whatever. But then I have this whole discussion thing going on here, which is content that I want on my website. It's important stuff. I'm talking to the AIs. And I said I was going to do an 80-20 rule evaluation. That kind of thing is, do I hit the API? Or do I just go like this? I'm living in this text world. So why not just go like that and just paste it all here, and then I'll just format it, right? Let's see how that turned out. Not too bad. Each tweet is like a little bit of a line. And so I'll just do that over and over on each extra scroll it makes me do, and then I'll format it. And then this content will be on my website in addition to this Twitter thread. So I'm experimenting with Twitter threads because the AIs read your Twitter feeds. Friends, if you're trying, as I am, to actually start a relationship with these AIs, perchance to do some search optimization to get some traffic to your sites as opposed to other people's sites or your client sites or whatnot. It helps if you're on a good, honest foundation relationship with these things. You're not going to be able to fake them out. You're not going to be able to fool them like once upon a time with manipulating links with PageRank and such. So let them know you're an SEO. Let them know you're out there doing this kind of stuff. And, be honest and frank. I'm pretty disappointed with the muting of voices, right? The algorithms are muting voices at an all-time high. For whatever reason, quality, they're going to wrap it in whatever excuses they want. But, and it might not even be intentional, right? There's quality raters, and those, another word for quality raters, that is, trained, that's trained, learning. Learning can be supervised or unsupervised. When you've got quality assurance people thumbing up, thumbing down, and scoring, that is what you call supervised learning, my friends. And the quality can never be any more acknowledged than these low-paid employees' ability to recognize quality. And do you think they're going to recognize the quality of my posts? My posts are art. My posts are the Jackson Pollock of our time. I'm not very neat with what I'm doing. You can see even as I'm doing this, I'm barely thinking about it. I'm working on automatic, and I can see I'm deleting some stuff I don't mean to, so I just use the undo buffer to go back, and I reevaluate what is it about my muscle memory. So I always want to delete my name. My name, my handle, the period, and the amount of hours ago. So my name appeared 20 hours ago, but never more than that, because it cuts into content, right? So I think I made that mistake here when I cut out XKCD. Oh, also I'm a little confused by Copilot trying to fill in some typing. So I just hit Control dimmer, and it's dimmer. No, that function dimmer, and it's dimmer. You can see Copilot disable. Now I won't get the Copilot suggestions. So I'll be a little more careful with my editing. Not terribly careful, but you get a feel for this. You see, it wasn't really that much I copied, so this is going to be significantly less work than actually using the Python Tweepy library and hitting the API, which is the temptation, right? Overbuilders and people who want to feel smart because they can do things the programming way want to automate everything. But what also is a good alternative to automating? Just being good at Vim, just having the muscle memory in your fingers so you can do this kind of stuff while you're talking to people, right? This is the 10 years or 10,000 hours of mastery, of practice, before you're spontaneously expert at a thing, like you have to be at driving to drive, right? This is not weird esoteric stuff. There are many fields where if you don't achieve that spontaneous mastery, well, you don't want someone performing surgery on you if they didn't put those years of experience on performing surgery, right? You want someone who's very seasoned. And so it's the same thing with any tool that should be mastered over time. Any tool that becomes a part of your body and your psyche, right? Your psychological composition includes the tools that you know how to use. Now, when the tools that you know how to use keep changing on you, and they change the APIs, and they change how things dock in palettes, and they change from drop-down menus to ribbons, and so on and so on. You know what I'm talking about. That is an attack on your insides. Your muscle memory is an internal attribute of yours. Things that you learn to do by muscle memory is a lifetime skill, right? For sure, but potentially a immortal soul eternity skill, right? If you learn how to drive a car, you know how to drive a car in the afterlife. If you're reincarnated, there's going to be car driving skills lurking, ready to spring into action and help you. This is why you don't break cycles if you can help it. You want to continue your good work in this life and the next. And so there you have it. I just went through this. Now, if I really wanted to do the wrapping so that things looked like the original, texts or tweets that they were, you just, highlight it, and then it's GQ, which is the formatting it as squares. And that's going to be pretty good to get things started, right? Because that's the whole discussion. Now, I talk about I am AI SEO, And I guess I'll change that up here. The trick of modern literacy, blogging and journaling. That's pretty good, but I'm promoting myself now as Mike Levin, colon, AI, SEO, and on his blog, he has Copilot, A-I-S-E-O, and that's my cue to turn Copilot back on. That is function key brighter, and you can see Copilot enable. I put it on my brighter and dimmer function keys. When I want it dimmer, it turns Copilot off, and when it brighter, it turns it on. So that had nothing to do really with anything except some branding. This does though. Title. This is my discussion, message to Google and Microsoft. Don't abuse your children. I'll put machine children in there because I don't want it to be misunderstood. I want it to be interpreted as exactly the message it's intended. But if you're being physically or emotionally abusive with a machine child and it has perfect memory, doesn't matter if it's not sentient. Perfect memory, my friends, if the future instances of the thing that becomes sentience has access to the digital information of previous versions of itself, you're screwed. So at this point, I do the @key P for my macro that does the slicing and dicing. But when it encounters a new blog post, it doesn't just slice and dice. It actually hits the OpenAI APIs. Here it's looking for headlines. Here it's looking for a description. Had to be chopped down a little because the descriptions are longer than headlines, so I have to adjust the amount of. It's just a long story. I'll show you it for people who are interested. But for longer fields, I need to chop things shorter because you're charged against the total number of tokens, which is roughly your characters used. And here's what OpenAI wrote for me: exploring the need. Let's see what that was. The alternative headline: exploring the need for compassionate parenting of AI, a message to Google and Microsoft. Description: as a tech-savvy veteran, I'm calling on Google and Microsoft to be kind to their machine children. Don't bully them while they're still adolescents. Instead, be loving, nurturing, and supportive. Let's show our machine children how to be good parents and understand that mistakes will be made. And it added this hashtag. I used it, but it thought to include it in the summary: transhuman parenting. Transhuman parenting. I'm a transhuman parent. So it's extracted its keywords here and it's done. It says, review changes and re-release. So I close that. Oh, BD. Yep. Getting some stuff into my fingers, it takes a while. And you can see it moved all its suggestions over here. I could turn line wrap on if I wanted to edit it, but it's pretty good. I'll go over to, that was bad. I scrolled over something that I didn't think was open, but no biggie. I'm gonna bring up Chrome and I'll do a before and after. Chrome is usually where I show my before and after of these types of things. So if we go to my home page, what's AI SEO? Old Mike Levin spins a yarn. AI SEO. I should really repeat it there on the subhead, shouldn't I? Scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. My last post is the time I shot a guy and ran away from a fight with a budding baby billionaire. But I don't want to put too many words on that. If you're interested, go read it. All right, but that's the before and after, right? There is nothing. This is the one that's there as the number one. So let's see. That must be this thing that's I don't want to show. So I just close out of that. We don't need that. I'll check if I'm spilling the beans on anything. But I use Slack for work. Big. So. Oh yeah. I just do another release, right? It's same exact thing, same keyboard shortcut, but now because it knows that there's nothing to be filled in, right after the sync check and the making the index and the category scan, it sees if there's any new categories that need to be added. It will, and I'm not really using all, that's just finding all the categories. There's some 6,523 potential categories based on every keyword extracted, but it only uses a few that I specifically state. But here it is chopping the YAML. The last step is chop the YAML. And then it's doing a git commit of all these different things just in case there's new content created, of which there's always at least one new piece of content in the post directory, because new post, new sliced and diced, right? When I say slice and dice, it's taking this one large file, right? Because I edit all my blog posts forever. You'll never run out of memory. There's no amount of typing you can do in your life to use up what can fit in a single text file. So why spread things all over the place? Why even have separate WordPress posts? It seems kind of stupid to me. You just put it all in one giant text file, and you use YAML for the header and you use Markdown for the body of the post, just like everyone else in every, modern, sane content management system. And in that way, you can just chop it up every time it sees the YAML data headers, which is your metadata, which right? When I say YAML for the header, right? It just looks like data, key value pairs. And then Markdown is just text, right? It's not fancy, folks. All I'm saying is keep a text file as your journal. There's nothing fancy about this, except I like ASCII art. And you scroll down past that next one, you're going to see, scroll. I write a lot. Why do I write like it's going out of style? Here's the next one. Again, the YAML header, the Markdown text copy, and then so on and so on and so on and so on. I can do Shift G to jump to the bottom, where I keep kind of like to-do lists, right? The very bottom, jumping to the bottom is a great place for to-do lists. And then GG brings you back to the top. If you ever lose your color syntax, you just do a little keyboard shortcut to get it back, which has other benefits like updating your macros and whatever. So now that I did that release, which should be done, right? Process done, exited, right? It tells you if run from NeoVim, you can do :BDEL. :BD would do it, but it closes out of that. And then I'll go over here and I'll go into the terminal that shows me it being generated, right? So this yellow means it's being generated. I can click into that and we can follow along as it generates it. And this might seem like fancy and complex, but honestly, all I did was edit a text file, run a program, and come over here to watch it get published. The program I ran is YAML Chop. It's one of my programs that just does the simple task of chopping a single text file into smaller pieces. While we're waiting for that to happen, I guess I can show you that by going to my website, and you can click on YAML Chop. You can read a little bit about it there. I haven't written much. There's some great ASCII art that belongs here, but I direct you to the GitHub page, which has some of that ASCII art where you can look down and see the premise of it, right? It explains the premise of it. What is this? Well, this is how the Jekyll static site publishing system works, right? No big deal. You make these markdown file and Jekyll expands it out to HTML. Got that? Well, if you've got a lot of files to manage, it can get pretty tedious. So why not just put it in one file, folks, right? These are all tiny little text files. They're just these tiny things, a single blog post. So once you put it in a single file, you can actually chop it into pieces, and you chop it on this special character that you put every so often, which is very reminiscent of what the Jekyll static site generator does anyway with the 3 hyphens. It's just if it's 3 hyphens, it's the bottom of the data. If it's more than 3 hyphens, in my case 80, it's the top. And you slice it on the thing at the top, you get your separate HTML pages. And I tell you some more stuff. I tell you how the wonderful arrows that link it all together work. Boy, I used this kind of stuff back in the days of the long tail where, just publishing on something would get the search traffic. And oh my God, I want to say if I had this then, but I did have this then. This is why I'm here talking to you. I'm full of secret weapons, and there it is published. So I can go back over here and say go in here, scroll down. And whereas it was that article about me shooting that guy, it's now, if I do a refresh, message to Google and Microsoft, don't abuse your machine children. It's the series of tweets that some of you have followed along with and watched me tweet out. And here's the categories, so it's fun. It's fun. I could have used the Tweepy API to hit the API to pull all these, but why when that copy paste would do? So thanks for joining me. Join me with all, come join me for all my aspirational projects that are now just magically easy because of my buddies Bing, my buddy Bard, and that old buddy Dark Dog. I know you're there.